That night, under the dim glow of the moon, Ose picked up her palm oil lantern and made her way to her mother's hut. The chirping of crickets and distant drumbeats from a nearby celebration filled the air, but Ose was too troubled to notice. She needed counsel. When she arrived, Ese was grinding millet by the fire, her silver bangles jingling with every movement. As soon as she saw her daughter's face, she set aside her pestle. That woman has no shame, Ese began, her voice laced with venom. Does she think she can insult you because I helped her have a child? Oshe's eyes narrowed in confusion. What are you talking about, Mama? Ese leaned closer, lowering her voice. I took her to the diviner, the one in the next kingdom. He's the reason she has Runo. Ose gasped, her hands trembling. Yes, Ese continued. She came to me crying for a child. I showed her the way, and now she dares to act like she's better than us. The fire crackled as if echoing their anger. So, what do I do? Ose asked, her tone desperate. Ese paused, then whispered, send Runo to the river tonight to fetch water. Ose frowned. Mama, why would I do that? The river is dangerous at night. Ese's face hardened. That girl is not like other children. Ivie told me herself, Runo was gifted to her by the river spirits. If she returns there at night, the spirits will take her back. Do as I say. Ose stared at her mother, the weight of the suggestion heavy on her heart. Finally, she nodded. She extinguished her lantern, thanked her mother, and returned home. Runo, Ose called. Runo came running, her beaded anklets jingling as she approached. She stood before Ose, her small frame shivering in the cool night air. Take this calabash and fetch water from the river, Ose commanded, her voice sharp. I've run out and need to bathe my son. Runo hesitated, her bare feet shifting on the earthen floor. But Mama said I shouldn't go to the river at night, she whispered. Oshe's face darkened. Are you deaf? Who cares what your mother said? Mena, who had been weaving a fishing net, looked up at the commotion. He approached them, his brow furrowed. What's going on here? He asked. Runo explained to her father, her voice trembling. I offered to bring water from our pot, but she insists I go to the river. Mena sighed and placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder. We have water left. Let me. Ose interrupted, her voice cracking with mock tears. Do you want my baby to suffer? If you won't help, I'll just manage without. Her dramatic display moved Mena, who reluctantly allowed Runo to go. Tearfully, Runo took her calabash and set off, her heart heavy with fear. Ivie returned from the market shortly after, balancing a basket of yams on her head. She noticed immediately that Runo was missing. Where is Runo? She asked her husband, her voice tight with worry. Mena explained, Ose sent her to the river. Ivie's heart dropped. Her chest tightened as she realized what must have happened. Ese had betrayed her. Without a word, she dropped her basket and ran toward the river. The path was lit only by the moonlight, and her bare feet pounded the dusty trail. When she reached the river, her worst fear unfolded before her eyes. Runo was wading into the dark waters, her small frame illuminated by the soft glow of the moon reflecting on the surface. Runo, stop! Ivie screamed, plunging into the cold water. She grabbed her daughter's arm and pulled, but a powerful force tugged them deeper. Ivie sobbed, her voice breaking. Spirits of the river, please. Don't take her. She is my child. The spirits, their whispers mingling with the sound of rushing water, paused. Touched by Ivie's pure heart and unwavering love, they released Runo. Clutching her daughter tightly, Ivie trudged out of the river. The two walked home in silence, water dripping from their clothes. The next morning, a piercing scream echoed through the village. Villagers rushed out of their huts to find Ose, her body covered in weeping sores. Her wails filled the air as she writhed on the ground. Ese, overcome with guilt, fell at Ivie's feet. Please forgive my daughter, she begged, tears streaming down her face. Ivie stood tall, her gaze steady. I hold no grudge, she said simply. Ose was taken to the village medicine man, who examined her carefully. He shook his head. The spirits have caused her for trying to harm Runo. She sought to disrupt the balance of the river, and now she must pay the price. Ese pleaded desperately for her daughter's life, but the medicine man's verdict was final. Ose lived out her days in misery, her body marked by the wrath of the spirits. In the weeks that followed, Ivie, ever compassionate, took in Oshe's son and raised him alongside Runo. A few months later, Ivie conceived again and gave birth to twin boys. Mena, overwhelmed with joy, hosted a grand ceremony. The drummers played long into the night, their beats reverberating through the village. Women danced, their rappers swaying to the rhythm, while elders poured libations to thank the ancestors. From that day on, Ivie's family thrived, bound by love and strengthened by the trials they had endured. The end.